No, they didn't warn you. They just started looking at you differently. I've watched it happen too many times. A man steps forward, not with aggression, not with arrogance, but with desperation. He begins to explain, to defend, to justify, not to protect truth, but to protect how he's perceived. And in that moment, without realizing it, he dissolves. Respect doesn't collapse with a scream. It slips away quietly when you speak from a place of fear. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. The second you try to prove you're not weak, you already are. Because the instinct to explain is not strength. It's exposure. In every room, in every confrontation, there is an invisible scale. Power rests on one side, insecurity on the other. And when you feel the need to explain yourself to everyone around you, you're screaming what you hope they don't see, but they do. People don't respect clarity as much as they respect control. And a man who explains himself too much isn't in control. He's bleeding self-doubt. The more words you use to justify yourself, the more space you give others to doubt you, to pick you apart, to step over you. Here's what the tribe registers instinctively. Explanations mean fear. Justification means guilt. Reactivity means weakness. And the human mind, programmed for survival, doesn't follow the weakest member. It forgets him. Look at animals in the wild. The alpha doesn't bark back when provoked. He looks, he observes, he withholds. Because silence isn't submission. It's dominance in disguise. And every unnecessary word is a crack in your armor. You think you're defending your image, but you're confirming the very thing you fear they see. Why do we do it? Because we've been conditioned from childhood to believe our worth is tied to how well we're understood. We think if people just knew our side, they'd respect us, they'd forgive us, they'd like us. But in public, in power dynamics, that conditioning becomes a weapon turned inward. People don't need reasons. They need signals. And the loudest signal you can send is silence. So what's the tactic? Adopt the law of tactical restraint. You say less. You look less reactive. You give people nothing to press against. Someone questions you. You hold the stare. Someone mocks you. You smirk and stay still. Someone demands an answer. You nod and stay quiet. Let their noise define them. Let your silence define you. Because in that silence, they'll start to project. They'll wonder what you're hiding. They'll assume control. And that assumption, that you're unshaken, is more powerful than any defense you could ever give. You must remember, words are cheap, but restraint, that's rare. That's unsettling. That's dominant. The strongest presence in the room is never the loudest. It's the one who knows he doesn't need to speak. Let them rant. Let them accuse. Let them beg for your reaction. You won't give it, because the moment you do, you lose. And you won't even realize it until the respect is already gone. According to Machiavelli, never defend yourself with words. Your silence terrifies more than your truth ever will. That's the essence of psychological power. People are wired to interpret silence as confidence or as danger. Either way, they respect it. So next time you feel the urge to explain, don't. Let the discomfort sit. Let them think what they want. Because in a world of voices begging to be heard, the quiet one becomes feared. They smiled. I didn't. And suddenly, the power shifted. Because I learned something most people never do. Silence commands more than charm ever could. We are trained, almost from birth, to be likable, to nod when spoken to, to laugh when others laugh, to offer bits of ourselves in exchange for proximity, for inclusion, for validation. But that's the trap. What looks like bonding is often just quiet submission. Every time you adjust your tone to be more agreeable, every time you force a laugh to make others comfortable, you shrink. People don't remember the agreeable. They remember the unmoved. We tell ourselves we're building connection, but connection is not influence. In public, it's often a mask. And the moment people sense you're wearing one, they stop respecting the person behind it. Here's the truth. Desperation never hides. It leaks through the eyes. It stains your voice with need. It softens your spine. You smile too often, you're not warm. You're afraid. You talk too much, you're not open. You're insecure. You seek approval. You're not socially skilled. You're expendable. Every audience, even casual ones, silently scans for hierarchy. And in that scan, the overly eager are ranked lowest, not because they're unkind, but because they're available. Emotionally, energetically, and behaviorally. And availability without effort is cheap. So what's the alternative? Controlled detachment. It's a psychological stance, a refusal to perform. You maintain minimal eye contact, not out of weakness, but precision. You look, then look away, like a lion that already knows who's prey. You speak slowly, not to be dramatic, but because you're not in a hurry to be understood. And most importantly, you never overshare. Let them guess, let them project, let them wonder, because mystery is magnetic. And silence is a signal. This doesn't mean being rude. It means being restrained. You don't initiate meaningless small talk. You don't interrupt the rhythm of the room. You become the one people glance at twice. Not because you were loud, but because you were still. Tactic 1. When someone asks you a personal question, offer only half an answer. Watch how they lean in. They're trying to complete the image. But you won't let them. You create discomfort. That discomfort becomes memory, and memory breeds respect. Tactic 2. In group settings, speak last. Let others expose their thoughts first. Then, if necessary, say something that reframes the room just once. The less you speak, the more your words weigh. Tactic 3. Never correct someone in public unless it serves a purpose. Correcting for ego is weak, but silence, when they expect you to react, unsettles. Withhold approval, withhold laughter, withhold response, and you'll feel the power of absence. Because when people don't know what you think, they fill in the blanks, and they always fill them with strength. If you give them no evidence of weakness, the emotional truth is this: people don't fear cruelty. They fear unpredictability, and nothing is more unpredictable than someone who doesn't seem to need the group. You're not cold. You're composed. You're not distant. You're precise. And when others bend towards social gravity, you remain still, like gravity itself, according to Machiavelli. If you let them believe they understand you, they will stop fearing you. Let them think. Let them wonder, but never let them feel like they've read you, because once they do, you lose all leverage. They don't notice when you speak, but they always remember when you apologize. Most people think apology is a virtue, a sign of conscience, of humility, of civility. But here's the brutal truth. In public, every apology is a negotiation. And most of you surrender before the other side even opens their mouth. I watch how you say sorry too fast, too often, too full of nervous energy. It doesn't repair your image. It erases it. Public apologies, when unearned or emotionally driven, don't elevate your character. They dissolve your presence. They expose insecurity. They tell the world, I've already punished myself, so please don't hit me harder. And that is weakness, the kind that predators smell before they ever see your face. You think you're buying peace, but what you're selling is power. True apology is not a reflex. It's a strategy. It must be calculated. As sharp and rare as a dagger in velvet. When you apologize without being asked, when you say sorry for interrupting, for speaking up, for existing, you place yourself below the other person. That's not grace. That's submission. You don't owe people emotional comfort for your presence. And when you act like you do, they start seeing you as a background noise. Forgettable, forgivable, and eventually disposable. It's not that you shouldn't apologize. It's that you should never make it a habit. Because every time you say sorry when you're not sure why, you teach others to expect guilt from you, even when they're the ones at fault. Tactic 1. Master the strategic pause. Instead of rushing into, I'm sorry, say nothing. Let the silence stretch. Hold eye contact. Let them feel the discomfort. Most people can't tolerate ambiguity. When you remain still and unreadable, you gain psychological height. They start guessing what you think. And guessing leads to caution. Caution leads to control. Your control. Tactic 2. Delay every apology by 10 seconds. When you're about to apologize, stop yourself. Count to 10 in your mind. Use that time to ask, is this about truth or my fear of disapproval? If the answer is fear, remain silent. You owe nothing for existing confidently. Eventually, people begin to frame you differently. They'll say you're composed, dignified, serious, but what they really mean is you're not desperate for acceptance. Tactic 3. Redirect with authority. If you must address a misstep, don't start with an apology. Start with clarity. Say, let me explain what happened. Or, here's what I was aiming for. You shift the frame from guilt to leadership. You reassert intent, not submission. Apology becomes a tool you choose, not a leash you wear. Because in public, your image is not built on being liked. It's built on being respected. And Machiavelli warned, "A man who seeks to be forgiven too often invites contempt. Better to be feared for silence than pitied for remorse." This isn't about cruelty. It's about control. Apology, when weaponized, is powerful. But the moment it becomes your default, you are no longer a strategist. You are a supplicant, and the world does not serve the apologetic. It only studies the unapologetic. To follow them, to fear them, or to try and stop them. They laughed, but something inside you broke. I've watched men bury their dignity in the name of being liked. I've seen women disguise self-loathing behind timed punchlines. It starts small. A sarcastic jab at yourself, a joke to ease the tension, a laugh to mask discomfort. But what you don't realize is that every joke about your flaws is a silent instruction. You're teaching the room how to rank you. The thesis is simple. When your humor turns inward, when it feeds on your weaknesses, you're digging a shallow grave for your own respect. They laugh because you gave them permission to, not just at the joke, but at you. And what happens after the laugh fades? They look at you, and they don't see strength. They don't see edge. They see the clown who knows he's pathetic. They'll never say it out loud. They don't have to. It's in the shift of their eyes. The way your words float and fall, no longer weighted. You'll talk and they'll nod. You'll ask and they'll stall. You'll offer and they'll pass. That's the quiet death of authority. Humor, when used with scarcity and intention, is power. A dry remark, a surgical roast, a cold, sharp irony that makes people lean in. Not because they're amused, but because they're alert. That's strategic. That's command. But the moment you become predictable, the moment your laugh becomes an escape rather than a weapon, you're finished. Public spaces are arenas. Social groups are hierarchies in disguise. Every time you mock yourself, you lower your position on the invisible ladder. You think you're being relatable, but they see weakness wrapped in comedy. They remember you, yes, but they remember how easy it was to laugh at you. That's not legacy, that's loss. I've sat in rooms where the loudest jokers disappeared the moment things turned serious. Nobody asked for their opinion. Nobody turned to them in tension, and they knew it. You could see it in their forced grin, that twitch in their eye, that nervous over-explaining. Because now, the joke isn't funny anymore. And neither are they. Let me give you a truth. Few will say, silence is funnier than laughter when it's timed right. It's the dry comment that cuts deeper than the loud one. It's the cold stare after someone else's joke. It's the refusal to participate in your own belittlement. Here's your shift, your survival strategy. Never laugh before others do. Never joke about a weakness more than once. And never apologize for being serious. There's power in dryness. There's tension in stillness. And when you resist the urge to soften a moment with humor, something strange happens. Your presence starts to thicken. People feel you more when you say less. So, replace the habit of constant humor with the art of deadpan minimalism. Say only what you need. Smile once, never twice. Let silence follow you like a shadow no one can shake. In time, your words will carry gravity. Your glances will become weight. Your name will echo longer than your jokes ever did. You're not there to amuse. You're there to disrupt, to shift the air, to be remembered in silence. And if they laugh, let it be at something you didn't say. Machiavelli warned, "He who becomes the clown may draw a crowd, but never a crown. A room may laugh with you, but they'll never follow the fool. They threw words like stones, and you bent down to catch them." Machiavelli warned, "The moment you explain, you surrender, and that truth will carve through your pride like a blade. You think speaking will save you. You think truth is your ally. But the moment you speak to justify yourself, you are no longer the predator. You are the accused. Let me tell you something cold. In public, perception is the truth, and defending yourself is a confession, even if you're innocent. Because no one listens to your words. They study your posture. They scan your tone. They search for tremors in your voice that confirm what they already suspect. And when they find them, even the faintest shake, you're done. This is the silent law of dominance. The person who defends submits. The person who stays silent commands. Why? Because power doesn't justify. It imposes. Let's go deeper. Why do you defend yourself in the first place? It's not for clarity. It's not to correct a lie. You do it because your ego is bleeding. You want to restore the version of you that someone else has just cracked open. But here's the darkness. If your value is so fragile it needs constant defense, it was never real to begin with. And when people see you scramble to rebuild your image, they no longer believe it held any weight. They smell blood. Understand this. Defensiveness is emotional nudity. You reveal everything. What you fear, what you care about, and what threatens you. A single defensive sentence says, "I'm afraid this is true." It screams, "I can't afford for you to believe that." And once others know what you can't afford, they own you. So what's the alternative? It's a silence so unnatural, it rattles the bones of your accuser. You use what I call the stone mirror technique. It has only one rule: reflect nothing, absorb nothing, display nothing. When someone slanders you, don't flinch. When they bait you, don't bite. When they lie, don't correct. Be the mirror and let them see only themselves. Why does this work? Because when your expression stays still, they begin to question themselves. The crowd turns not to you for defense, but to the accuser for proof. And here's the twist. Most attackers don't have proof. They rely on your panic. They rely on your collapse. But when your silence offers them nothing to feed on, they starve. And the crowd, unsure where to turn, starts to lean in your favor. Because mystery is more seductive than clarity. Machiavelli said, "A powerful man lets the lie rot on its own tongue." And that is exactly what you must do. Let them rot. The weaker you look while defending yourself, the stronger they look while accusing. But the stronger you appear while saying nothing, the weaker their words sound. Silence shifts the spotlight. Suddenly, they are exposed. They are sweating. They are explaining. And now, they look guilty. Here's how to wield this tactic. Never defend immediately. Let accusations sit. Time creates uncertainty, and uncertainty favors you. Maintain unbroken eye contact without emotion. This unsettles. They expect a reaction. Deprive them. Speak only once, and only when it's strategic. One cold sentence, "I don't respond to nonsense," is more powerful than 1,000 explanations. Remember, silence is not weakness. It's a loaded weapon. It says, "Your opinion of me is beneath my response." It communicates power, discipline, and inner authority. People fear what doesn't flinch. They respect what doesn't react. They obey what doesn't explain. And in that stillness, that unshakable quiet, you become untouchable. Because in the end, no one respects the man who pleads. They respect the man who lets the fire burn and never moves. That is dominance. That is control. And that is Machiavellian. They don't fear what they understand. They fear what they can't read. It took me years to realize that showing emotion in public is a currency that only fools spend freely. A single flash of anger, a public breakdown, even loud celebration, it all costs you something invisible. Control. And once control is gone, respect follows. According to Machiavelli, men sooner forget the death of their father than the loss of their inheritance. What does that mean? It means emotion is disposable, but control? That's remembered. That's feared. Here's the truth. Emotion makes people uncomfortable. It makes them unsure of you. It makes them powerful over you. Because the second they see what rattles you, excites you, or destroys you, you're no longer unreadable. You're no longer a threat. You become just another exposed nerve, twitching in the open. I've watched it happen. The colleague who bursts out laughing during a serious meeting. Suddenly, they're not taken seriously again. The man who yells when insulted in public. Now labeled hot-headed, emotional, weak. Even the one who cries in front of strangers. They're marked as vulnerable, open prey. Public spaces are stages. And on that stage, emotion is not power. Mystery is. The world doesn't reward expression. It punishes it, especially from men, especially from anyone who wants to command, because emotion gives people the script. And once they have the script, they stop fearing the actor. So what do I do instead? I use silence. I use calm. I let the world scream while I sip my coffee. I let the others react. Loudly, emotionally, carelessly, while I stay still. Because every second I don't react, I grow taller in their minds. They think I'm planning. They think I'm dangerous. They think I know something they don't. That's the ice veil. The tactic I never abandon. You apply it like this. Never explain your face, whether you're happy, angry, or heartbroken. Let them guess. The unknown is more powerful than any confession. Delay your reactions. When something happens, don't respond instantly. Give it 10 seconds. Let your silence fill the room. Let it disturb them. The person who takes the longest to react controls the room. Eliminate exaggerated behavior. Don't clap the loudest. Don't laugh the hardest. Don't cry in front of crowds. These extremes reveal your emotional anchors. And when people know your anchors, they know where to pull. I've stood in rooms full of rage, full of panic. And I've watched the most silent man own it all. People start looking at him differently, not because of what he said, but because he didn't say anything at all. His stillness was unsettling, unreadable, and that unreadability made him untouchable. Don't confuse this with being robotic. I feel things. I break on the inside like everyone else. But the difference is, I don't give the audience a show. I don't give the enemy the script. I keep my storms private. And in public, I wear stillness like armor. Machiavelli warned, "He who lets himself be moved by pity is doomed to be ruled by it. To survive, you must become emotionally expensive. Let no one afford you. Because once emotion leaks, respect drowns. And in power, you don't ask for respect. You make them wonder why they fear you. I don't speak to be understood. I speak to be remembered. But most of the time, I don't speak at all. Because silence isn't emptiness. It's dominance. You want respect. Then erase your need to be known. Forget the approval. Abandon the performance. You don't need applause. You need gravity. Machiavelli warned, "A man who is not easily read cannot be easily manipulated." He was right. What people can't predict, they fear. And what they fear, they respect. People lose respect not because they're weak, but because they're visible. Too open, too eager. They laugh at the wrong time. Apologize too fast. Explain themselves before anyone asks. They try to fill silence like it's a hole. But silence is the weapon. Distance is the armor. When they can't read you, they can't reach you. And that's the entire point. You don't build respect by being known. You build it by being unknowable, mysterious, detached, controlled. You become a mirror, reflecting what they fear, what they admire, and what they can't quite name. And that ambiguity, that's what keeps them cautious. The most powerful presence in any room is the one that doesn't ask to be noticed, but still is. You don't need to smile. You don't need to prove anything. Your silence is the message. Because people project power onto mystery. They fill in your silence with strength. They invent your intentions and assume the worst. And that fear, that tension, it breeds respect, not love, not trust. Respect. That's what you want. Because love fades, trust breaks. But fear endures. Here's how to become unreadable. The final strategy. The presence without performance rule. It means you enter a room without reacting to it. You observe. You scan. You breathe slower than everyone else. You let the silence stretch. And you watch who rushes to break it. You speak only when needed. And when you do, your words cut clean. Short. Sharp. Never more than necessary. When people joke, you don't laugh on cue. You don't mirror the room. You force the room to mirror you. You don't defend your choices. You don't chase misunderstandings. You let people wonder. Let them doubt. Let them misread you. Because if they can't read you, they can't categorize you. And what can't be categorized becomes sacred, dangerous, or both. Your presence becomes a shape they can't hold. Even when you leave, the room still whispers about you. They replay what you said or didn't say. They analyze your glance, your pause, your silence. You become a psychological echo, a shadow that stretches long after you've gone. And that's the goal. Not to be liked, not to be accepted, but to be unforgettable. So strip yourself down to mystery. Erase the need to explain. Apologize, smile, agree, or justify. Replace performance with presence. Speak less, watch more, say nothing. And watch how loud you become. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved." If you cannot be both. But the unreadable man, he doesn't need either. He simply is. And that's why no one dares to cross him. Because you cannot challenge what you cannot predict. Final truth. The moment they can define you, they control you. So make yourself a question with no answer. A book with no title. A presence without a face. Respect follows mystery. And mystery starts in silence.